What if I told you that the 100% natural vitamin D pill you swallowed this morning wasn't extracted from some sun-drenched plant, but was actually synthesized from the grease of a sheep's coat?
Yeah, I mean, it is the ultimate blind spot for consumers.
Hmm.
We tend to associate the word natural with botanical purity, but biology is far more resourceful, and honestly, industry is way more pragmatic than our imaginations.
Right. So today we are opening up your bathroom cabinet to look closely at something you likely consume every single day without a second thought. I mean, you probably assume that if a bottle has a green leaf on it and says naturally made, the contents were just plucked from an organic garden and compressed into a tablet.
Oh, for sure. People picture a very serene farm, but the reality of the multi-billion-dollar vitamin industry is a completely different story.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is designed to arm you with the ultimate toolkit. We are using a comprehensive guide by Lorraine Fabian from Ingredientsage, which maps out the exact pathways of naturally made vitamins.
It is such a vital resource. The gap between the marketing imagery on the front of the bottle and the actual biochemical reality on the back is just staggering.
It really is. Our mission is to help you spot greenwashing, navigate deceptive labels, and truly understand the origin of your supplements. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because I need to know how a word as simple and comforting as natural can legally obscure heavy industrial processing.
But we have to start with the regulatory landscape, specifically in the United States under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. People call it DSHEA.
Right, DSHEA.
Under this framework, the FDA regulates labeling and post-market safety, but there's absolutely no pre-market approval required for individual ingredients. So brands can use this broad umbrella term natural as long as it isn't overtly, demonstrably false.
Wait, so there's no strict legal definition for natural vitamins?
Not really, no. Natural simply means the starting material originated in nature. It doesn't tell you how many chemical steps or, harsh industrial processes it took to get from that raw material to the pill.
Wow. It almost feels like seeing the word artisan on a fast food burger wrapper. It sounds incredible, and it evokes this image of a chef carefully crafting your meal, but it completely papers over the reality of the industrial assembly line.
That is a perfect analogy, exactly.
So if we peel back that natural label, what are the actual biological and chemical pathways creating these vitamins? I assume plants are at least one of them.
Yeah, let's start with the one most people envision, which is plant-based extraction. This is taking botanical matter like roots, leaves, berries, and pulling out the beneficial compounds. It sounds perfect for a clean label formulation,
Sure, it sounds ideal.
but the biological reality is that plants usually only produce these active compounds in microscopic trace amounts. You're facing a massive biochemical bottleneck here.
Meaning you can't just squeeze a leaf and get a vitamin pill out of it. You'd need like a mountain of leaves.
You might need literal tons of raw biomass to yield just a few kilograms of an active vitamin extract. And to pull that specific compound out of the massive matrix of plant fiber, manufacturers rely on industrial solvents,
Solvents? Like what?
like hexane, ethanol, methanol.
Oh, wow. Hexane. That does not sound natural.
No, it doesn't. If a brand is truly prioritizing a clean product, they need rigorous documented verification showing the purity of the final extract. They have to prove that all those harsh solvent residues, along with any heavy metals the plant absorbed from the soil, have been completely removed.
So plants take up massive amounts of land, rely on soil health, and require heavy solvent processing just to get a usable yield. What's the alternative then? How do we bypass that agricultural bottleneck?
By turning to microbial fermentation, this is a massive shift in how we produce vitamins right now, especially B vitamins like B12 and certain forms of vitamin C.
Okay, so microbes, like bacteria.
Exactly. Instead of farming acres of plants, you use specific strains of bacteria or yeast in controlled bioreactors. You feed them nutrient broth, and through their natural metabolic processes, they excrete the vitamin.
That's fascinating.
And is highly scalable. It's essentially a high-tech brewery.
That makes total sense. I mean, we already use microbes to make beer and bread. Why not vitamins? But knowing the supplement industry, there has to be a catch.
Oh, there is. The catch is a sneaky bit of industry phrasing. You have to verify if a vitamin is truly fermentation-derived, meaning the microbe produced the vitamin entirely through its native metabolism.
Okay, and what's the alternative to that?
You have to watch out for things labeled as fermentation-inspired or a nature-identical process.
Wait, fermentation inspired? That sounds like a lawyer wrote it.
Because a lawyer probably did. That's the exact blind spot the industry relies on. Fermentation inspired is often a clever way of saying they started with a synthetic chemical, let an enzyme or microbe perform one minor conversion step, and then heavily processed it.
Ah, I see. So it mimics the natural route, but it is heavily engineered.
Exactly. It's a massive difference from true fermentation.
Okay, so if microbes act as tiny, efficient factories for our B vitamins, what about ocean ecosystems? Because fish oil is a massive industry for omega-3s, and surely we aren't fermenting fish. Is there a bioreactor equivalent for marine nutrients?
There is, actually, and it involves algae-based production, specifically microalgae. This is a revolution for sustainability regarding omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA and EPA.
Right, because where do the fish get their omega-3s in the first place? I mean, they don't magically synthesize it themselves. They get it from eating the algae.
Precisely. We are just cutting out the middle fish.
Yeah.
By cultivating microalgae in controlled environments, you get a direct, highly pure alternative to fish oil.
Which brings us back to my morning vitamin. If plants, microbes, and algae are three pathways, the fourth one has to be where the sheep come in.
Yes. The fourth pathway is animal-derived, and this is where consumer assumptions clash hardest with reality. The most common form of vitamin D3 on the market is sourced from lanolin.
And lanolin is...
Lanolin is a waxy substance secreted by the sebaceous glands of sheep. It coats their wool to make it waterproof.
So the raw material for most vitamin D3 is essentially sheep sweat and grease, which is then chemically irradiated to become the vitamin we swallow.
Pretty much, yeah. The wool is sheared, the grease is boiled out, purified, and then subjected to ultraviolet light to convert the cholesterol into vitamin D3. It is technically 100% natural because a sheep made it.
That is wild. So what do vegans do?
Well, the plant-based vegan alternative would be sourcing the D3 from lichen. Lichen is a unique composite organism, kind of a symbiotic partnership between a fungus and an algae.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and it naturally produces D3 when exposed to sunlight.
This completely shatters the illusion that all natural vitamins are inherently vegan. I mean, if a vitamin boldly claims to be 100% natural, it could still be packed with animal byproducts.
Absolutely. Natural simply means it originates from nature. Animals are nature. If you are following a vegan diet or adhere to halal or kosher dietary laws, relying on the word natural on the front of the bottle is a recipe for failure.
Right.
The production pathway dictates the vegan suitability, the allergen risks, and the sustainability profile.
Obviously, you can't exactly set up a chemistry lab in the grocery store aisle to figure out if your D3 came from lichen or a sheep. So how does a regular shopper actually decode this stuff?
You have to train yourself to completely ignore the broad, sweeping claims on the front of the packaging. The front is just marketing. Turn the bottle around to the ingredient list. You are looking for explicit source disclosures in the fine print.
Let's get specific for everyone listening. If a brand is hiding behind generic terms, I'm assuming that's a massive red flag. For instance, if a label just says marine oil, does that mean they're using cheap commodity fish scraps instead of a specific algae strain?
That is highly likely. If a brand is investing in high-quality, authentic, natural sourcing, they're going to brag about it on the label. They won't use vague terms.
Okay, so what green flags should we be looking for?
For omega-3s, look for the exact algae strain mentioned by name. If you want vegan vitamin D, look for the explicit phrase D3 from lichen. If you are perfectly fine with an animal source, you might see D3 from lanolin.
What about the B vitamins and vitamin K? We talked about microbes earlier.
Right. For B12, look for fermented B12 and see if they actually list the fermentation organism. For vitamin K, a massive green flag is the phrase natto-derived K2MK7.
Let's break that down for the listener. What exactly is natto?
So natto is a traditional Japanese food made from fermented soybeans. The specific bacteria used in that fermentation naturally produces the highest known dietary concentration of bioavailable vitamin K2.
Okay, so when a supplement label specifically calls out natto-derived K2MK7, it's telling you exactly what organism produced the nutrient and the precise chemical form it takes.
Exactly. It removes all ambiguity. You aren't guessing.
Finding these specific phrases is like having a decoder ring for your personal dietary choices. But what if your concerns go beyond your own diet and you care deeply about the planet? We have to talk about greenwashing.
Oh, greenwashing is rampant in this space.
Right, because slapping a green leaf on a bottle and calling it earth-friendly is just everywhere. It's like claiming a newly built house is sustainably constructed just because you painted the exterior green, completely ignoring the fact that the foundation was poured over a bulldozed protected wetland. The clean label on the product is a lie if the supply chain behind it is causing destruction.
That's a great way to put it. Let's compare the environmental footprints of these pathways, starting with that marine oil we mentioned. Traditional fish oil relies on mass commercial fishing.
Which has a huge impact.
Staggering implications for ocean ecosystems. We're talking bycatch, overfishing, and the total disruption of marine food webs. Algal oil bypasses that entire ecological disaster. You grow the algae in a facility. It actively supports responsible marine stewardship by leaving the ocean alone while delivering the exact same nutrient.
That makes so much sense. And what about the impact of traditional agriculture versus microbial fermentation? We mentioned the biochemical bottleneck of plants earlier, but farming feels inherently natural, right?
It feels natural, but industrial farming operates on a massive damaging scale. We're talking about vast tracts of arable land cleared for monocrops. We are talking about millions of gallons of water for irrigation, chemical pesticides, topsoil depletion, and heavy diesel fuel for harvesting and transport.
All just to extract a tiny fraction of an active vitamin.
Exactly. Microbial fermentation in bioreactors slashes that footprint completely. It offers highly scalable production with vastly lower land, water, and energy use. A single facility can produce the vitamin equivalent of thousands of acres of farmland.
So how do you, as a consumer, spot the brands that are genuinely utilizing these sustainable methods versus the ones just faking their eco-credentials?
You demand the receipts.
Mhm.
Authentic brands do not hide behind buzzwords. They offer comprehensive visibility into their supply chain. They will proudly display maps of where their raw materials originate.
Like right on their website.
Yes, they will publish third-party audits of their environmental and social governance practices. If a company claims to be sustainable but cannot tell you the environmental impact of their extraction process or the origin of their biomass, that claim is pure marketing fiction.
Which naturally leads me to look for shortcuts. Because if I can't trust a brand's own website, my instinct is to look for official third-party certifications. If I see a shiny gold seal like USDA organic or USP verified on the bottle, can I finally relax, turn my brain off, and trust the product is 100% safe and effective?
Honestly, that is one of the most dangerous assumptions a consumer can make.
Really?
Yes, certifications are incredibly valuable trust signals, but they do not guarantee absolute safety or efficacy on their own. They test for very narrow, specific parameters.
Okay, let's dissect the big ones. What do these seals actually mean then?
So, USP verified means the United States Pharmacopoeia has validated the potency and quality of the pill. It confirms that the exact amount of the vitamin promised on the label is actually inside the bottle, and that the pill will properly break down and dissolve your digestive tract.
Okay, that's good to know. What about the others?
Non-GMO Project Verified simply means there are no genetically modified ingredients.
Yeah.
Vegan certification guarantees no animal inputs were used.
And what about USDA organic? Because people pay a huge premium for that label.
USDA Organic refers strictly to the farming inputs. It means the plants used in the product were grown without synthetic fertilizers or prohibited chemical pesticides.
So wait, here is where it gets interesting. A gummy vitamin could technically earn a USDA organic seal simply because the cane sugar and the tapioca syrup used to sweeten it were grown organically.
Exactly.
Even if the actual active vitamin inside the gummy is heavily degraded, poorly absorbed, or completely synthetic.
That is absolutely correct. The organic seal on a supplement does not guarantee the efficacy, the absorption rate, or the physiological quality of the active vitamin compound itself. It only guarantees the agricultural rules followed by the farmers who grew the raw inputs.
Wow. That perfectly sets up a few major myths we need to debunk right now. Myth number 1. If an ingredient is natural, it is inherently safer than a synthetic one.
Fact, safety hinges entirely on rigorous quality controls, contaminant testing, and precise dosage. Nature is full of deadly things. I mean, arsenic is natural. Botulinum toxin is natural.
That's a very fair point.
A well-regulated, rigorously tested synthetic vitamin produced in a sterile lab can actually be significantly safer than a poorly controlled natural botanical extract that happens to be contaminated with heavy metals from the soil.
Okay, myth number 2. Organic and natural vitamins are always more bioavailable, meaning my body absorbs and uses them better.
Fact, bioavailability depends entirely on the chemical form of the nutrient and how it is delivered in the matrix of the pill. An organic botanical extract might actually have much lower bioavailability than a targeted synthetic compound. It just depends on how your digestive enzymes interact with it.
And myth number 3, which is everywhere right now, fermented always equals magical absorption.
Fact, fermentation is just a manufacturing pathway. While microbes can sometimes pre-digest compounds to make them easier to absorb, fermentation itself does not automatically grant a vitamin superabsorption powers. It still comes down to the final chemical structure.
It's astonishing how easy it is to fall into these marketing traps. The source material quotes an industry quality expert who puts it perfectly. Transparency isn't a marketing trope, it's a purchasing requirement for informed buyers. You have to practice what the industry calls holistic due diligence.
Which means looking at the entire picture, the sourcing, the chemical form, the testing, rather than just trusting a single green leaf icon.
Let's make this incredibly practical. We need to translate this dense industry guide into a step-by-step checklist for you, the listener. But we have to be realistic. You can't exactly demand a corporate lab report while you are standing in the middle of a pharmacy aisle holding a shopping basket.
Right, of course not.
So let's split this into two phases: what you do in the store and what you do at home before you commit to a brand long-term. In the aisle, step 1. Define your boundaries before you pick up the bottle.
Yes. Decide what matters to you before the shiny labels sway your judgment. Are you strictly looking for plant-based extraction? Are you actively seeking the sustainability of microbial fermentation or algal oil? Do you explicitly need vegan D3 from lichen? Know your criteria.
Step 2. You pick up the bottle, you ignore the front, turn it around, and look for explicit disclosures.
You are checking to see if the fine print matches your preference. Does it name the specific source, like nano-derived or lichen? And do the certifications actually align with what the label claims?
Step 3, still in the aisle. Check the chemical form, because efficacy relies on specifics.
This is crucial. Let's look at vitamin B12, for example. If you look at the back of the bottle, it will likely say either cyanocobalamin or methylcobalamin. Cyanocobalamin is the most common, cheapest form on the market.
Let's explain why the form matters biologically. Cyanocobalamin actually contains a cyanide molecule attached to the cobalt. Now, it's perfectly safe in these microscopic doses, but your body cannot use it in that state.
No, it can't.
Your body has to expend metabolic energy to cleave off that cyanide molecule, process it out, and then attach a methyl group before the B12 can actually enter your cells and do its job.
Exactly, whereas methylcobalamin is the active bioidentical form. Your body recognizes it and utilizes it instantly. No conversion necessary.
That's a huge difference. Does that apply to other vitamins too?
Oh, absolutely. The exact same rule applies to vitamin D. Don't just settle for the word vitamin D. Look to see if it is the cholecalciferol, which is D3 and highly effective, or ergocalciferol, which is D2 and generally less effective at raising your blood levels. The chemical form dictates how well your body can actually use the nutrient.
Okay, so you've checked the explicit sourcing and the chemical form. You buy the bottle, you take it home. Now you are in phase 2. Before you put this product on a monthly subscription, we move to step 4. And this is the absolute non-negotiable.
Step 4 happens at home, on your computer. You go to the brand's website and demand transparency regarding their COAs. COA stands for Certificate of Analysis.
Why is a COA our holy grail here?
Because a COA is the only document that pierces through the marketing. It is a report from an accredited independent laboratory that details the exact chemical makeup of the specific batch of vitamins you just bought.
So it's not just a general summary of the company.
No, it is the biochemical truth of the powder inside your specific pill.
And step 5 is knowing how to read that COA. A real certificate of analysis must show batch-specific test results for 4 critical pillars. Pillar 1 is potency. Is the exact dose promised on the label actually present in the pill?
Right. And pillar 2 is heavy metals. Did the lab test for and confirm the absence of dangerous elements like lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury that could have been pulled up from the soil?
Pillar 3, pesticide residues. If it was a plant-based extraction, does the COA prove that the chemical solvents like hexane and any agricultural pesticides were completely washed out?
And pillar 4 is microbiological limits. Is the final product completely free from harmful pathogenic bacteria like E. coli, salmonella, or dangerous mold spores?
So if a brand hides their COAs, or if you email their customer service asking for the batch report and they give you a runaround about proprietary information, cancel the subscription immediately. Walk away.
Absolutely. Transparency is the bare minimum. Whether you are a regular shopper looking out for your family or a private label buyer stocking a 1,000-store retail chain, demanding this rigorous end-to-end transparency is the only mechanism that forces the supply chain to stay clean.
It is incredible how much power we actually hold as consumers once we know exactly where to look. To recap our journey today, we learned that the comforting word natural could legally mean ultraviolet irradiated grease boiled out of a sheep's coat.
Yes, unfortunately.
But we also identified the exact green flag phrases to stand for, like lichen, natto, and specific algae strains, completely ignoring the marketing fluff on the front. We compared the massive land-saving environmental benefits of bioreactor fermentation over industrial farming and commercial fishing. And finally, we built a bulletproof checklist examining the biochemical forms of our vitamins and prioritizing independent certificates of analysis over shiny, misunderstood gold seals.
Armed with this knowledge, you are no longer flying blind in the supplement aisle. You now have the power to look straight through the greenwashing. By holding manufacturers to this higher standard, by checking the chemical forms and demanding those COAs, you ensure that what you put into your body is safe, authentic, and perfectly aligned with your health goals and personal values.
It is about transforming from a passive consumer into an informed investigator.
And, as we look to the future of this industry, this entire deep dive raises an incredibly provocative question.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we have thoroughly explored how microbial fermentation can be perfectly controlled in a highly efficient bioreactor to produce safe, pure, functionally identical vitamins. It bypasses the biochemical bottlenecks of plants. It uses a tiny fraction of the land, water, and energy of traditional farming, and it leaves the ocean's ecosystems entirely untouched.
Right. It is clean, scalable, and environmentally protective.
So if these highly engineered, lab-grown fermented vitamins become the absolute gold standard for human safety, purity, and planetary sustainability, will our deep-seated emotional obsession with the word natural eventually become completely obsolete?
Oh, wow.
Are we rapidly moving toward a future where the most ethical, safest choice you can make for your body is inherently the most engineered one?
That is a fascinating paradox to chew on with your morning vitamin. The next time you open that bathroom cabinet and look at those little bottles, remember, the consumer landscape might be murky, and the labels might be designed to distract you, but now you know exactly how to read the science behind the marketing.